I shall first provide you a sense of how the 4 roster production houses have steadfastly contributed to the story of CENDLOS since its beginning 2 decades ago. The world we have created is a product of our thinking. It cannot be changed without changing our thinking. If we want to change the world, we have to change our thinking. No problem can be solved from the same consciousness that created it. We must learn to see the world anew. Albert Einstein, the Nobel Prize-winning physicist. Knowledge unfits a child for slavery. Frederick Douglass, the celebrated African-American abolitionist. I'm truly privileged today to share some thoughts on the ongoing partnership between the Center for National Distance Learning and Open Schooling, CENDLOS, and the 4 roster content production houses, namely National Film and Television Institute, NAFTI, Village Communication, Primetime Ghana, and my own company, Akroma Productions. As this year marks 20 years since the inception of the original President's Special Initiative on Distance Learning, PSIDL, the precursor of CENDLOS, I'm taking the liberty to share the following story with you, so please indulge me, in which thrives a theme that takes on existential significance in our contemporary world. It's timely too, as yesterday, June 5th, was World Environment Day. The Forecast Factory was a dream of the 20th century English mathematician and meteorologist, Louis Fry Richardson. In his unfussily titled book, Weather Predictions by Numerical Process, 1922, Richardson presented a vision of 24,000 computers. In those days, computers were human beings doing calculations with pen and paper, each preparing a different weather forecast for the designated geography. In a large, tall pulpit stands the man in charge who coordinates the scattered weather calculations from his computers into a global forecast, like a conductor of an orchestra. Following hundreds of pages of equations, velocities, and data, he asks the reader to indulge him. After so much hard reasoning, may one play the fantasy? For Richardson, one of the main limitations on weather forecasting was a lack of computational capacity. But through the fantasy, he could ignore practical problems and bring an entire planet into focus. His Forecast Factory saw once scattered local observations merging into a coherent planetary system, calculable, predictable, overseen, and singular. Richardson died in 1953, the year IBM released the first mass-produced electronic computer. Though his factory never materialized exactly as he imagined it, his dream of a calculable planet now seems prophetic. I even saw in the previous presentation talking about weather, design, engineering, etc. I lately read a McKinsey article to the effect that recent advances in quantum computing can help tackle global warming. It could be a game changer. The piece suggested quantum computing could help develop climate technologies able to abate carbon or reduce carbon on the order of 7 gigatons a year of additional CO2 impact by 2035, with the potential to bring the world in line with the 1.5 Celsius target, which will help us to avoid a disaster. It bears thinking that Richardson's original conception of the Forecast Factory took place around the time pioneering physicists such as Bohr, Schrödinger, and Heisenberg were teasing out the principles underlying quantum mechanics. You would probably marvel at how their scientific ideas have converged in such a spectacular fashion nearly a century later, in a way that might yet save us from ourselves. What seems to be most important in any endeavor is to have the courage to imagine and begin. To quote one great thinker, inceptions are greater than eternity. They are the shocks of time. To date, our production houses have supported the efforts of CENDLOS to address the hugely uneven access to best-in-class educational content and tuition nationwide, which undermines the desired vision of a highly trained, future-ready Ghanaian workforce. It was the late great Professor Francis K. Aloti from Ghana who asserted, quote, Africa missed out on the 18th century industrialization because they did not know what was happening at the time. But it will not be forgiven for missing out in the 21st century because there's enough information to propel development, science, and technology. It's a linchpin on which fortunes will rise and fall, and it's time to fully embrace it. In 2002, the precursor of CENDLOS, the President's Special Initiative of Distance Learning, invited the 4 aforementioned production houses to participate in the pre-pilot phase of the PSIDL. This involved the production of 10 programs each for then the JSS3 and SSS3, now JS3, etc. English and mathematics for transmission on television. The coordinator of the PSDI was Madam Abena Akroma, Kwartin, who persuaded the production houses to self-fund the creation of the pilot content. Broadcasting duly commenced on July 23rd, 2003 on GTV. In summary, 2,720 half-hour programs in respective disciplines of English, Maths, Physics, Chemistry, Biology, Social Studies, and Integrated Science have been produced since the inception of the project in 2002. I repeat, 2,720 half-hours in these disciplines have been produced by the four roster houses in collaboration with CENDLOS. Current and future educational program content is now available on television and both online iCampus and offline the iBox platforms. CENDLOS itself was formally established in 2010 with Dr. Joshua Mallet as its first executive director, and we subsequently worked closely with him and his team to create a first stream of salient audiovisual content. Even after 2 decades of involvement in this ongoing project, the passion and commitment of the production houses remain undiminished. This is because we have skin in the game in the most selfless way. Yuval Harari, in his 2016 best-selling book Homo Deus, stated, quote, in the early 21st century, the train of progress is again pulling out of the station, and this will probably be the last train ever to leave the station called Homo sapiens. Those who miss the train will never get a second chance. In order to get a seat on it, you need to understand 21st century technology, and in particular, the powers of biotechnology and computer algorithms. For the futurist Alvin Toffler, quote, the illiterates of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn and relearn. CENDLOS must in addition endeavor to embrace the respective disciplines of complexity, social simulation, and future forecasting by exploring collaborations with atypical learning organizations such as the world-renowned Institute for Complexity at Santa Fe and the Institute for the Future, which was indeed founded by the above-quoted Alvin Toffler. We, the production houses, well understand what is at stake, and the stakes, for the matter, are incredibly high. In our view, an undisputed value of the CENDLOS iCampus and iBox delivery channels are the adaptability and flexibility in customizing educational content to address current and future exigencies. This helps to build readiness and resilience within the learning and skill-building ecosystem and prepare the students to be always ready for the challenges of the horizon. Even as we advance the uplifting mission of CENDLOS, with a sometimes understandable disposition towards the acquisition of STEM skills and orientation, we should not lose sight that a desirable outcome of any educational endeavor is to produce cohorts of critical thinkers, creative thinkers, collaborative thinkers, and caring thinkers who tap into deep reserves of empathy and compassion in getting to grips with existential challenges that stalk us. Indeed, in his recently published book, The Power of Crisis, the renowned political scientist Ian Bremmer soberly details how unprepared the world is for a trio of looming crises: global health emergencies. Yes, humanity will face viruses deadlier and more infectious than COVID, transformative climate change and global heating, and perhaps, in his opinion, most dangerous of all, the AI revolution. So I'm happy there's been a lot of reference to the AI need to speed up on AI. It therefore greatly matters this worthy enterprise has a human and humanizing dimension, human-led and tech-enabled, and that the products and students strongly subscribe to the notion that A is better off when B is better off. It was President Theodore Roosevelt who said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. In a 2021 essay, Elizabeth Cantor-Lamassie narrates how Johann Fichte, an 18th century German thinker, emphasized the primacy of feelings. Fichte held that feelings were the foundation of all knowledge, ethical, scientific, philosophical, or otherwise. He was also strongly of the view that knowledge could only be cultivated through necessary feelings. It was therefore nigh impossible for a self to pass on true knowledge to another self, as all knowledge is necessarily developed from feelings. These feelings have their origins in community interactions and jostling of ideas. Thus, the human community is the foundation of all knowledge and enables us to become improved versions of ourselves. This theme is taken up and amplified in the concept of communalism, as the great Senegalese physicist, anthropologist, and historian Cheikh Anta Diop subsequently espoused in his writings. It also chimes well with the popular African proverb that it takes a village to raise a child. The updated version is that it takes a global village to raise a child, with the growing recognition we hang together or hang alone. Suffice it to say that the more interactive and community-affirming the educational content delivery channels, the better. We, the content producers, should be remiss if we do not recommend some practical next steps for advancing the cause of CENDLOS. The President of Ghana, His Excellency, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has correctly given the highest priority to education during his term of office to date. His bold decision to provide universal free SHS education in Ghana will have an incalculable long-term favorable impact on the economy of Ghana through the significant growth of our human capital. It's also salient to note that the President is also currently the Chairman of ECOWAS. It redounds greatly to the credit of the President in his role as the Chairman of ECOWAS if the government of Ghana could provide other member nations of ECOWAS with digitized copies of the diverse CENDLOS content. We should, of course, qualify that such shared content will be most useful to our sister nations that operate within the West African Examination Council WAC educational system. The ready availability of CENDLOS content in the ECOWAS near abroad on terrestrial television, online, and other delivery channels would further enhance the reputation of the Ghana Education Service as an enabling center of excellence in West Africa and promote the desired and continuing alignment of educational praxis in the region. We suspect it might pique the interest too of the youth of ECOWAS in advancing education in our globally renowned local universities and other skills-building tertiary institutions. The sharing of CENDLOS program content could also vicariously confer benefits on other local ministries, the Ministry of Trade and Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Centre, respectively, obviously spring to mind. The potential soft power of CENDLOS-led regional engagement could provide each of these ministries with an edge in promoting tourism and the uptake of made in Ghana goods. A resourced and fully accredited CENDLOS is well placed through the use of leading-edge content delivery platform technology to underpin and drive the process of producing a highly skilled, energized, and innovative Ghanaian workforce that can outcompete its peers in a bewilderingly fluid and complex global economy. For the scientist and cybernetics pioneer Hans-Ford Foster, the ethical imperative is to act always so as to increase the number of choices. This is precisely what CENDLOS has been doing for a good while now. It has continually extended the availability, range, and variety of its offerings, and is providing young Ghanaians with an expanded choice of educational content delivery. The 4 content production houses take the opportunity to acknowledge the ongoing efforts of the current Executive Director of CENDLOS, Nana Gyamfi Adjoho, who shows us the weighty responsibility of reimagining education in our local context for an age of accelerated global technological change. We're rooting for you, Director. We also wish to recognize the ongoing support of the Honourable Minister for Education and his team for CENDLOS and for what we've been doing. I wish to heartily acknowledge the presence of so many committed stakeholders, partners at this gathering. It is mightily cheering to see the impressive support CENDLOS continues to enjoy as it forges ahead on a transformational journey. In closing, I return to Frederick Douglass, who said, quote, "There is a prophet within us, forever whispering that behind the scene lies the vast, immeasurable unseen." Thank you. Thank you.
Many thanks, Mr. Kofi Sarpong from Akroma Productions.